Baba Miller looks like he could be a dude for the Bearcats men's basketball team.
You are Locked On Bearcats, your daily podcast on the Cincinnati Bearcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Bearcats. My name is Jeff Carr, and I'm all Cincinnati all the time. I've been a SID in multiple athletic departments, and I have been a football season ticket holder for the Bearcats for 7 seasons now, and I'm glad that you're alongside me here today. Locked On Bearcats is part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team, your Bearcats, every single day. And on today's podcast, we're all basketball all the way because the basketball team showed out against Western Carolina last night. Men's basketball just went crazy. And honestly, the depth shone through. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the pod. In a few minutes, we will talk about a fun showing for Buck Harris to begin his Bearcats career. But there's one key thing that might hold back something about just really buying into everything that Buck Harris can be for the Bearcats. But we will begin with why Baba Miller just went nuts on Monday night. That's all on today's podcast that is brought to you by Game Time. Download Game Time today, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Baba Miller looked fantastic. Look, first game of the season, you're always going to see some slop, and there was a lot of slop in this game. This was not a perfect showing by the Bearcats, but they won and they covered against Western Carolina, at least according to FanDuel. I believe they were 22.5-point favorites before tip-off on Monday night, and they win 94-63. It was a dominant performance on the scoreboard. There were definitely some question marks about a couple of different things, namely the fact that the Bearcats actually got out rebounded in this game. So that was a bit concerning, but there was a lot of positives, and my biggest positive was Baba Miller. This was something we talked about a little bit on yesterday's podcast with Chad Brendel. Chad brought up the fact that a lot of folks have talked about Baba Miller coming into UC, and they said, watch this dude. He's going to be real good, but he's got to put it all together. His first halves look awesome. Second halves, he disappeared. Things like that. Doesn't quite put two halves together. But honestly, he had a fantastic game. He had 18 points in 24 minutes of playing time. Fantastic double-double with 10 rebounds. 9 of those on the defensive side of things. But overall, just looked fantastic. And he's the guy that it's not just, okay, he's got to post up. You got to throw him a ball down on the low post. No, he can handle it too. He was handling in the backcourt. He was handling across the timeline. And we saw him, he would pass the ball to either, Kerr Kriisa or Day Thomas. Then they would set up the offense. But he is not a guy that you can just set a defender down in the paint and say, come on, buddy, what you got? Because he's going to back you down. He's going to be able to play with his back to the basket, his front to the basket. He looks like a guy that can do everything with the ball. And that is exciting to see because we talked a lot about the loss of Jalen Haynes and how this really is going to hurt the front court scoring ability for the Bearcats. But it seems like Baba Miller is going to be able to pick that up, or at least early on. I get it, Western Carolina. Anything at this point feels like an overreaction, but I'm overreacting to how good Baba Miller looked on Monday night. I mean, he shot 7 of 9 from the floor. Now, his only 2 misses, he took two shots from outside the arc, and he missed both those. Those were his only misses on the night. Didn't get to the free throw, or he did get to the free throw line, 4 of 6 with his free throws on the night. I was very impressed with everything that he was able to put together. But he's going to be the reason that you're okay with the Bearcats moving forward, because scored 94 points feels key, feels important that they were able to do that. I mean, they ultimately shot 54% from the floor. Western Carolina is going to be one of those teams that are in the bottom, they're outside the top 100. They're not going to be pushing for a tournament spot, I don't believe. They're not going to win their conference or anything like that in the SoCon. But it's good to see the team, the Bearcats, get going in game one, at least on the offensive side. I would like to see them get more rebounds. I mean, they were pushed around on the boards, especially Western Carolina had far more offensive rebounds than I thought they should get in this game. But Baba Miller really shone through for me. He was the key guy that impressed me. I was also impressed by a couple of other guys, namely Moustapha Thiam. Maybe it was the post. I don't know. The post really impressed me for the Bearcats, at least on the offensive side of things, because Moustapha Thiam, although he wasn't the ball handler that Baba Miller is, Moustapha Thiam was able to do a couple of really impressive things. Two, the Bearcats had three guys score 18 points. It was Baba Miller, Moustapha Thiam, and Sean Abayev. All co-led the team in scoring. They were three of the four double figures. Jordi Rodriguez joined them in double figures off the bench. Impressive to see. He scored 10 in just 15 minutes of playing time. But Moustapha Thiam and Baba Miller, the post really controlled things for the Bearcats in this game. They tried from outside the arc, and honestly, that's going to be one of those things that we, kind of try to hold up a microscope to. But being the first game of the season, there's a lot that there's going to be worked on between now and even just now and the Dayton game, right? Because they got Georgia State coming up on Friday, and then Dayton next week. But even between now and then, they're going to be just working because everything is just beginning. Nothing is certain. And quite frankly, even just talking about how good Baba Miller and Moustapha Thiam looked, this is a little bit of an overreaction. I will grant you that. If you're in the comments right now and just be like, Jeff, calm down, man. It's one game and it's a bad team that they played against Western Carolina. So how can you go crazy about this? But I'm really happy from what I saw from the post. Really like what I saw from both Baba Miller and Moustapha Thiam. And I think that they're going to clean up some of the other stuff that we saw. A couple of mistakes on this. It's interesting because Moustapha Thiam surprised me. He pulled up for three early in the first half. And I was listening to the radio broadcast, and Dan Horde and Mo Egger were talking about this. Mo Egger filling in as the analyst on the broadcast for the first game. But Mo Egger asked Dan, he's just like, is this something that they're going to want to see out of Moustapha Thiam, him, pulling up for three? And then in the second half he did, and he drained it. And it was a perfect swish. Looked like a rainbow a little bit. Not going to lie, the form was interesting. But if it works for Moustapha and it works for the Bearcats, then let's go. Because you got a 7'2" guy that can pop out on the perimeter and knock down a three. Are you kidding me? That's going to be a lot of fun to watch. But between him and Baba Miller, I was really impressed with what I saw from the post and from their ability to score. And they forced so many turnovers in this game, just absolutely dominated Western Carolina. The number of steals that they had were fantastic. The number of plays where guys would be forcing the ball handler for Western Carolina, whoever it was, toward the sideline, and then they'd lose control of the ball. Bearcats ball going the other way. That was encouraging to see because that's what's going to keep them in all of these games. I don't think they're going to score 94 points on a regular, especially when they're going up against some of this tougher competition. But the way that they were able to lean on Moustapha Thiam and Baba Miller and force those turnovers was really key for me because that masked some of the other stuff that we worried about, right? Like in the first half, I thought it was intriguing because they really didn't shoot free throws all that well. They were 10 of 12 in the second half, which meant that they were 10 of 18 in the first half. Hopefully they can continue to make that a little bit better. But as Chad and I joked, it's something about that Bearcats jersey that you put on, really good at defense and just can't shoot a free throw. But hopefully they can continue to work on those sort of things. But I was happy, man. Like Baba Miller looks like a dude. And that's my overreaction for the day. But I'm really excited about seeing him. I was also really excited about Buck Harris. And honestly, the bit that we saw him in this game was fun. But there's one key question that I have after having seen him play 9 minutes against Western Carolina. There's so many sports going on right now, and with NCAA basketball getting started, there's no better place to enjoy being a sports fan than with FanDuel, because new users can place a $5 wager, and if it wins, you get $300 in bonus bets. Let me tell you how to work that deal right now. Go to FanDuel, create your account, and place $5 on the Bearcats to win. Their first couple of games, they should win. Talking about the money line, not the point spread. Don't worry about the point spread. Go to the money line and put $5 on the money line, because when your first $5 wager wins, you get $300 in bonus bets. You won't find odds like that on bets that you can actually win. So go find a sure thing and put $5 on it, because you get $300 in bonus bets. And you can use those $300 in bonus bets across the app on all different kinds of things, all the different sports, all the different prop bets. What are you waiting for? Go download FanDuel right now. Thank you for making Locked On Bearcats part of your day, and I invite you to make it part of your everyday routine. Hit that subscribe button right here on YouTube or in your favorite podcast app, because we're on every podcast app. We're free and available everywhere you get your podcast. Become an everydayer today and hit that subscribe button. Also, if you're watching here on YouTube, I appreciate you dropping down in the comment section. Leave your thoughts on the first men's basketball game for the Bearcats down in your comments section. Hit the like button. All that stuff helps out the algorithm. But I'm curious as to how you felt watching game one. Game one is game one, right? Like, you're going to make some ridiculous mistakes. And there were some funky exchanges from both teams, because Western Carolina, not a good basketball team. But there were some moments where it seemed as though UC played down to their competition. But I think that is just par for the course in game one. Even the best of teams need a couple of games to get to their level. And I don't necessarily believe that we will see that. I didn't believe we would see that in game one. I don't know that we'll see that against Georgia Southern. We probably won't see that for a handful of games. When you've got all these new guys trying to play together, and there's different philosophies around the game, and there's different tendencies. Like, one of the tendencies that we saw was Buck Harris and his just absolutely, I feel like if you had to run through a brick wall to go get the basketball, Buck Harris is going to do it. Sincere Buck Harris, number 5, is the guy. I love Buck Harris. He played 9 minutes in the first game, and I think he would have played a lot more had he not fallen awkwardly on his left wrist. And that was something that Wes Miller had said after the game on the radio broadcast. He said that he's dealing with a left wrist. We'll keep evaluating him, see what's going on here. Because you saw, like, he gets fouled, he falls to the floor. If you didn't see this, he goes up for a layup, and the shot is blocked, but it's clear foul. Goes to the free throw line, and before the ref can even throw him the ball, he is like grabbing his left wrist, and he's really trying. You can see he's like squeezing it. He's trying to brace it. He just felt very, very uncomfortable, wincing a whole lot in his face. And so you could really tell. And he tries to throw up a free throw, and it misses left of the basket. It's not even on target. And so it's clear he's in a lot of pain. And I really hope that that's fine. I hope it's not a serious injury, because I want to see him play a lot more. The thing of it is, though, as much as I love it, as much as that is the kind of basketball that I love watching, it kind of feels like that's who he is. And it kind of feels like we're going to be gasping at different plays that he makes and be like, oh man, I hope he's okay. Because he just goes. He's got a motor, I'm pretty sure, that goes up to 200%. I don't think you can slow him down for any reason whatsoever. And that's all of his charm, and probably all of the concern around his game too. He played 9 minutes. He scored 6 points. He had 3 steals and 2 assists, and all of it looked fantastic. He was all over the place. When he was on the floor, the Bearcats ran a four-court press defense because of who he is. He is able to guard the backcourt and really put a ton of pressure on the guys trying to cross the timeline. I really feel like he can transform. Their defense is pretty good, but he can make their defense great. And then as long as he is taking smart shots on the other side, then you're not worried about it. He was doing a lot of driving to the basket. I mean, he got to the line 6 times in just 9 minutes of basketball. I love seeing that from anyone. And so when you tell me this is his first impression as a Bearcat, it was something that Chad Brendel said. It was something that Dan Horde said on the broadcast. It's something that Mo Egger has said. The moment that you watch Buck Harris play basketball, you're going to fall in love with him. And I did. So I really hope that the injury to his wrist is not serious, because I want to see a lot more of number 5 on the floor. Because I felt like he brought this different attitude, this attitude that we saw years ago with the Bearcats, especially on defense, but we haven't seen that attitude in a long time. He brought a fun attitude, and you know who else brought a fun attitude? Kerr Kriisa. Kerr Kriisa, I think I had him pegged as a good shooter, and I hope we see some good defense from him and stuff like that. He's so much more than that. I absolutely cut him short. He had 4 assists and 6 points. He did play 26 minutes, so it's not as if he lit up the stat sheet. But he has this ability that once everybody gets on the same page, once we get past that point of the season where everybody's just trying to figure out who their teammates are, obviously the guys wearing the same jersey, but like figuring out their tendencies, where they're going to be, what they're going to do, things like that. He is going to be such a weapon, because he was throwing long pass after long pass, outlet pass here, outlet pass there. He isn't just a guy who can run the point. He's like a quarterback. Like if Brendan Sorsby goes down, maybe that'll check out Kerr Kriisa as quarterback. Because he can throw. And he was throwing some passes the guys just weren't ready for. I think specifically of one that Tyler McKinley kind of looked like he was driving down to the low block, but I don't think he was under the impression that he was even being targeted. And Kerr Kriisa puts a ball right on him. He turns around. All of a sudden, the ball's right on him. He just wasn't ready for it. Goes out of bounds. Easy turnover for Western Carolina. But I think that once guys get used to that, then there's going to be some plays where they score like that. We're not talking about the Bearcats being one of the slowest offenses in the country anymore. With guys like Kerr Kriisa, Dayton Thomas looked pretty good running the point a little bit too here. And then you got Sincere Harris just going 1,000 miles an hour up and down the court. This team could be a lot faster than we expect. And then you talk about the fact that, going back to what I said in the first bit of today's show, that Baba Miller can handle the basketball. There might be some fun. There might be some really fun strategies on the offensive side of the floor. And I'm getting way ahead of myself after game 1 saying all that. And I understand if you're like, Jeff, slow down. Okay, I will. But I'm earmarking that. I think there's something to that. I'll be interested to see how the Bearcats play against Georgia State. Feel like there's something here. Could Kerr Kriisa bring the ball up a lot more? Going to be interesting. Plus, he was making some hustle plays, man. There were some good hustle plays by everybody. Dayton Thomas diving on the floor, getting a basketball. Kerr Kriisa diving on the floor, getting a basketball. There's a lot of guys that were really trying to save balls that were heading out of bounds and things like that. I felt really good about the effort that was put forth. I get it. It's Western Carolina's first game of the season, and you've got all these, adrenalines and emotions and all this other stuff. But it really felt like the Bearcats were all in. And if they can carry that over to Georgia State, to Dayton, on down the road when they play that team from Norwood, on down the road when they get into conference play, that's going to help you out. When you got flaws, if you can still play hard, you can cover up some of those flaws with hard play. And I love seeing that early on. But the other thing that really impressed me, and I don't know that you can really overreact to this part. Some of this, I grant you, might be a little bit of an overreaction on this, that, or the other. But the depth of the Bearcats roster really shone through on Monday night. The next time you're looking to get down to a Bearcats game, you got to get on Game Time and find some great deals for your tickets, because Game Time makes the ticket buying process simple. They show you your all-in pricing up front so that even before you add the ticket to your cart, you know exactly what you're going to pay. There's no surprise fees, surprise taxes, all that stuff. They put it all in front so that you're not surprised at all. And, say you're not going down to Fifth Third Arena or to Nippert Stadium. Maybe you're going somewhere else. They could show you your view from your seat. That way, you don't get caught in a bad viewpoint you know exactly what you're getting into before it all happens. Check out the Game Time app today. Download it, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege to get $20 off your first purchase. Make the game buying process simple with Game Time. Again, promo code LOCKEDONCollege saves you $20 off your first purchase. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. You can continue the conversation with me after the show is over. You can follow me on Twitter at Jeff Carr with 3 Fs. You can also follow the show on Twitter at LO_Bearcats. I'm also on TikTok with the same username at Jeff Carr with 3 Fs. And on Instagram, just flip the username around, CarrJeff. All right, one of the other things that really impressed me about this game was the depth that the Bearcats shown. Bearcats played 11 guys, and 10 of them got a bucket. I mean, the only guys that played less than 10 minutes were Buck Harris, who dealt with an injury, and I'm gonna try here. Havleen Gillett, who played 7 minutes, but even in his 7 minutes, he got 4 rebounds. Had a couple of shots that he took. Didn't score any points. He was the only guy to not score. That was the thing. 11 guys played, 10 guys scored. And he still had 2 blocks and a steal. Like, if you're going to get that from your 11th guy in the game, even if it's against a Western Carolina, that's not nothing. And I know Dan brought up the point that, you know, especially once you get into those difficult Big 12 games, you're not going to go 10 guys deep or 11 guys deep. But there's a real argument that the Bearcats could easily go 8 deep. I mean, Dede Thomas, Sean Abayev, Kerr Kriisa, Baba Miller, Moustapha Thiam. Those were guys that played the most, and they had good games. Buck Harris, he will play more as long as he's healthy. But then even Keyshawn Tillery and Jordy Rodriguez. Jordy Rodriguez is a guy that I'm keeping a weather eye on him, right? I've been watching Pirates of the Caribbean here recently, so sorry about the pirate terminology there. But I'll be definitely keeping an eye on Jordy Rodriguez because he got 2 threes in this game. 2 of 4 from behind the line, and then you've got 4 of 7 from the free throw line. Like, there's something about Jordy Rodriguez that coming off the bench, if you need a bucket, feels like he's a guy that you can trust on that. But the fact that he was able to draw some fouls, he did have, you know, the foul that he took a 3-pointer, and a guy like ran into him. He got 3 foul shots, only made 1 of the 3. Those were 2 of his 3 misses on the night. I still think that there's something there. Being a freshman coming in from Spain, played a little bit, you know, of the, you know, I think it was the second league, not the top league in Spain, but the second league in Spain of like some professional basketball over there. He's got some interesting experience that a freshman just doesn't have coming into this. So I would love to see more from him, but I think that he's going to be a really interesting guy off the bench for the Bearcats. But obviously Buck Harris and Keyshawn Tillery will. Tyler McKinley, too. And Jalen Celestine, I'm intrigued to see more of him, although he didn't go crazy in this game. He did have 3 points, but he also had 3 fouls. Just 1 assist other than the 3 points, and he did have a steal. Bearcats just went crazy with steals. 11 steals on the game as a whole. But you get down to that level, like when you're talking about that far down the list of guys who are getting into this ball game and making some sort of an impact. That's important to see because in games where you are just dominating, and there was a point where Western Carolina got within 20. I think they got up to 19. They cut the deficit to 19. And Wes Miller called a timeout, and you're just like, okay, that they're not coming back, but it's weird seeing them not up by 20 in this game. And then immediately Moustapha Thiam just started going off. Moustapha Thiam, so Baba Miller did it all throughout the game. Moustapha Thiam kind of took till the second half, but man, once the second half got going, he got going and it went crazy. But the depth of this ball club really shone through. And I'm interested to see how much more we see against Georgia State because Georgia State is a better team than Western Carolina is. So I don't expect the Bearcats to just absolutely boat race them out the floor as well, but I still expect them to win by a comfortable margin. And with that, you're going to see guys get on the floor And we're going to see more of Havline Gillette. We're going to see more of Jalen Celestine and guys like that. Tyler McKinley are going to be on the floor, making sure that they spell Baba Miller and Moustapha Thiam a little bit. You don't want them playing 30 minutes in these games. They're going to play 30 minutes against Dayton and guys like that, but not against Western Carolina. And I don't think that that'll be something we see against Georgia State. But the depth is something that even Wes Miller, when he was talking with Dan Horde after the game, they asked Wes, they're like, what do you take away from game one? He's like, man, I was impressed with our depth. And I was too. I agree with Wes. I think that there's some talent on this team that if they can find something, they can get some consistency with their play, clean up some of the slop, they're going to be a lot of fun. I don't necessarily know how high they're going to go, but they're coming in at the same point that the football team was, where nobody's expecting anything from them in the Big 12 at large. They're kind of looking at the Bearcats going, how about that? They got some interesting players. How about that? But nobody's going to say, hey, let's worry about them in the tournament. I don't think anybody's worried about them. So they got to prove it. They're going to get their first chance to prove it in, less than a week when they face Dayton. At least to start to prove it a little bit here. But the non-conference, remember, that went really well last year too. The non-conference went really well, and then conference play started and everything crumbled. So I'm not going to go too crazy if the Bearcats just go insane through non-conference, but I like what I saw. Game one has me excited. I'm not making any bold proclamations about where the Bearcats are going to go after this because Western Carolina is just not that good of a team. But I think this is why it was important that they played Michigan and Arkansas as their scrimmages. So they really faced that tough talent early on, but that tough talent didn't demoralize them and sink their season or something like that. And they can build themselves up against Western Carolina, build themselves up against Georgia State, and then hopefully beat Dayton and really start to take off because the depth is there. The post is there. And you got this high energy guy that as long as his wrist is fine, he's there too. There's a lot of fun on this ball club, and I can't wait to continue to follow them through this season. It's only just beginning. Long way to go. And we're going to be with you every step of the way right here on Locked On Bearcats. We'll get more to football talk in here tomorrow, but definitely wanted to focus a lot on the basketball side of things after game one, and game one winning, covering 94-63. Cincinnati dominates, the unsung Carolina, Western Carolina. People forget about Western Carolina. Okay, no, I know there's only North Carolina and South Carolina, but anyway, I kid. That'll do it for us here today. Thanks so much for checking out today's Locked On Bearcats podcast. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button, drop down into our comments section, hit the like button, help out the algorithm so that other Bearcats fans can find us more easily. Love talking Bearcats athletics with you, and we're going to be doing it here tomorrow as well. We'll see you then. Now, make sure you check out Locked On Big 12. Drake Toll's got you covered for the most interesting conference in all of America, from the championship game to the first game and every game in between. That's Locked On Big 12, or just like Locked On Bearcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. And we'll be back with more Bearcats talk tomorrow.